Once upon a time, in the palace of a very great king, lived a very beautiful princess named Bisi. Bisi was a twin, although not identical. Her twin sister's name was Lola, and she was also charming and lovable. One day, Bisi and Lola were taking a stroll around the village when they came across a very handsome man in a cocoa plantation. They were so captivated by his good looks and could not help but stare in amazement. "Who is he?" they asked their maidens, who told them that his name was Afolabi, the son of the popular cocoa farmer who died few years ago. Afolabi inherited his father's plantation and worked diligently to ensure that the legacy his father left was preserved. "He is one good-looking man," said Bisi to her sister Lola, who smiled and replied that looks was not everything. They both laughed and carried on with their stroll. When they arrived back at the palace, Bisi could not stop talking about the handsome man Afolabi. "I wish to be wed to him," she said jokingly as her sister began to laugh. "If you wish to be wed to him, what then happens to Tunde?" Lola said with a grin on her face as they began to giggle. Tunde was a very wealthy farmer who had declared his intention to marry Bisi. This was few weeks ago when he approached Bisi to tell her that he wanted to marry her. Tunde was yet to make his intentions known to the king, as Bisi had told him not to approach the king yet, as she needed time to give him an answer. Excited at the likelihood of receiving a positive response from Bisi, Tunde began to shower the princess with so many gifts. Lola had even advised her sister Bisi to give Tunde a chance, but Bisi was skeptical as she believed something was off with Tunde. One hot afternoon, Bisi snuck out of the palace alone and walked straight to Afolabi's plantation. She caught sight of him in the distance and could not help but call out, "Hello," she said, as she gently gravitated towards him. His eyes and gentle smile captured Bisi's heart, and she could not help but fall in love with Afolabi. Afolabi was also captivated by her beauty, as he had never seen anyone so beautiful in his life. They began to talk for hours and wished the world would pause and allow them bask in the moment forever. It was now getting dark, and the princess had to bid Afolabi farewell as she rushed back to the palace. Princess Bisi had never been so happy in her life. She had finally met the man she wanted to spend her life with. What she did not know was that Tunde had seen her talking to Afolabi earlier in the plantation and had gone to warn Afolabi to stay away from Bisi. In the palace, Bisi was all smiles as she revealed to her sister that she had finally found the man she wanted to marry. Lola was so curious to know who this man was that had captured her sister's heart, and Bisi revealed that it was Afolabi. Lola was so happy for her sister Bisi as she could feel the joy in her sister's heart. The next morning, Tunde came to the palace to see Bisi, who was not so excited to see him. He brought with him so many gifts, but Bisi rejected the gifts and told Tunde that she was not interested in him and would not be marrying him. Tunde was extremely hot and began to plead with Bisi, but the princess had already made up her mind. Tunde then left the palace heartbroken, and although Princess Bisi felt bad for him, her heart was with another, and she was happy that she had finally been free from Tunde. Tunde loved the princess so much and could not take the rejection. He stopped going to his farm and even began to starve himself of food. News of this got to the princess, but she could not care less as she was not in love with Tunde. One morning, Lola went to check on her sister Bisi and noticed that Bisi was not in her room. She looked around the palace, but Bisi was nowhere to be found. Then she rushed to report this to their father, the king. The king then summoned all his guards to search the whole palace for his daughter, but Bisi was nowhere to be found. The king then sent his guards out to the village in search of Bisi, and they combed the whole village, but no one saw Bisi. The search continued for days, and news then reached the king that a certain man had asked the princess to marry him, and the princess rejected his proposal few days before her disappearance. The king, on hearing this, summoned Tunde to his palace, but Tunde was nowhere to be found. They searched the whole village, but no one had seen Tunde. News of the princess' disappearance got to Afolabi, who also began to search for the princess all around the village. One day, Afolabi decided to search the village cave, as that was the only place he had not searched in the village. He walked into the cave and saw an old woman who asked him what he was doing in the cave. Afolabi told the old woman that he was searching for the missing princess, and the old woman looked at him and said that the princess never left. She revealed that the answer to finding the princess lies in the mirror. The old woman then told Afolabi to go to the king's palace to tell the king what she had said, and that if the princess is not saved soon, no one would ever see her again. Afolabi, on hearing this, ran to the palace to relay the message to the king. He was distraught at the thought of never seeing Bisi again. Afolabi then told the king what the old woman had said, that the secret to finding the princess lies in the mirror. The king then ordered his guards to bring out all the mirrors in the palace. They brought the mirrors to the king, but the king was clueless as to how the mirror was the key to finding the princess. Whilst they were deliberating in the king's palace, Lola walked in and saw all the mirrors lined up in the king's palace. She immediately removed her eyes from the mirror, but it was too late as her sister Bisi magically emerged from one of the mirrors. What happened was that Lola was jealous of her sister Bisi because she also was in love with Afolabi. Lola did not want her sister to marry Afolabi, so she decided to visit the evil witch doctor that lived in the next village. The witch doctor then gave her some charms and an incantation to do, which will make her sister invisible. All this while, Bisi was roaming around the palace but no one could see her because she was invisible. However, the witch doctor warned Lola that she should not look into any mirror in 10 days, or else she would become blind and the spell would automatically be broken and her sister set free. The witch doctor told her that if after 10 days she does not look into any mirror, her sister would disappear forever and no one would be able to bring her back. Lola was excited as she saw this as an opportunity to have Afolabi all to herself. She was so careful not to look into any mirror until this very moment. Lola became blind whilst Bisi was free from the spell her twin sister put on her, and she could not imagine how her twin would be so wicked to put her in a spell despite the bond they shared as twins. Afolabi, on the other hand, was speechless but happy to see Bisi again. He immediately declared his interest to marry Bisi and obtained the permission of the king. Afolabi could not risk losing Bisi after all that had happened, and Bisi accepted to marry him without thinking twice. Lola regretted all she had done, as she not only lost Afolabi but her twin sister, the trust of her father the king, and also her sight. She was now in complete darkness, alone, lonely and blind. The lesson to be learned from this story is that evil does not pay. Rather, it takes more than it gives. Stay away from evil if you want to live a happy and fulfilled life. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like, subscribe and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.